To have you here with us in the great histories and personalities of the ancient Vedic civilization and beyond and before. But we are studying tonight from the 10th canto, Summum Bonum, and we're almost finished. We have one more chapter left after this one, and we will conclude our study of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, very exciting to be here. There's 65 verses in this chapter, so we're only going to do this one chapter, and then the next chapter is quite long also. These are also very important chapters, and they have a great story to tell. So I think you'll really, really enjoy the adventure of these two chapters. They are very elucidating. So, as usual, we shall start with pranams, and if you know them, join me. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devim Gaurivani Pritcharine Nirvishesha Shunyavani Paschatya Reshatarane. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'll start with the first 10, and anybody who wants to chime in right after that, I would be eager to hear your lovely voices. Okay, so text one. Sukadeva Goswami said, once a king, as a group of sages were performing a Vedic sacrifice on the banks of the Saraswati River, a controversy arose amongst them as to which of the three chief deities is supreme. Eager to resolve this question, O king, the sages sent Lord Brahma's son, Brighu, to find the answer. First, he went to his father's court. To test how well Lord Brahma was situated in the mode of goodness, Brighu failed to bow down to him or glorify him with prayers. The Lord became angry at him, inflamed into fury by his own passion. Through anger towards his son was now rising within his heart. Lord Brahma was able to subdue it by applying his intelligence, in the same way that fire is extinguished by its own product, water. Bhrigu then went to Mount Kailash. There, Lord Shiva stood up and happily came forward to embrace his brother. But Bhrigu refused his embrace, telling him, "You're a deviant heretic." At this, Lord Shiva became angry and his eyes burned ferociously. He raised his trident and was about to kill Bhrigu when the goddess Devi fell at his feet and spoke some words to pacify him. Bhrigu then left that place and went to Vaikuntha, where Lord Janardana resides. There he went up to the Supreme Lord, who was lying with his head on the lap of his consort, Shri, and he kicked him on the chest. The Lord then rose along with Goddess Lakshmi as a sign of respect. Coming down from his bedstead, that supreme goal of all pure devotees bowed his head to the floor before the sage and told him, "Welcome, Brahman. Please sit in this chair and rest a while. Kindly forgive us, dear master, for not noticing your arrival. Please purify me, my realm, and the realms of the universal rulers devoted to me by giving us the water that has washed your feet. This holy water is indeed what makes all places of pilgrimage sacred. Today, my Lord, I have become the exclusive shelter of the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. She will consent to reside on my chest because your foot has rid it of all sins." Wow. Okay, pick it up there, somebody. Text 12. Go all the way. Marie?
Sukha- Sukadeva Goswami said, Brugru felt satisfied and delighted to hear the solemn words spoken by Lord Sankutha. Overwhelmed with devotional ecstasy, he remained silent, his eyes brimming with tears. O King Brugru then returned to the sacrificial arena of the wise Vedic authorities and describes his entire experience to them. Amazed upon hearing Bruegger's account, the sages were freed from all doubts and became convinced that Vishnu is the greatest Lord. From him come peace, fearlessness, the essential principles of religion, detachment with knowledge, the eightfold powers of mystic yoga, and his glorification, which cleanses the mind of all impurities. He is known as the supreme destination for those who are peaceful and equipoised, the selfless wise saints who have given up all violence. His most dear form is that of pure goodness, and the Brahmanas are his worshipful deities, persons of keen intellect who have attained spiritual peace worship him without selfless motives. The Lord expands into three kinds of manifest beings: the Rakshas, the demons, and the demigods, all of whom are created by the Lord's material energy and conditioned by their modes. But among these three modes, it is the mode of goodness which is the means of attaining life's final success. Sukadev Goswami said, the learned Brahmanas living along the river Sarasvati came to this conclusion in order to dispel the doubts of all people. Thereafter, they rendered devotional service to the Supreme Lord's lotus feet and attained his abode. Sri Sutta Goswami thus said, thus did this fragrant nectar flow from the lotus mouth of Sukadev Goswami, the son of the sage Vasudeva. This wonderful glorification of the Supreme Person destroys all fear of material existence. A traveler who constantly drinks this nectar through his ear holes will forget the fatigue brought on by wandering along the paths of worldly life. Sukadev Goswami said, once in Dvarka, the Brahmana's wife gave birth to a son, but the newborn infant died as soon as he touched the ground. O Bharata.
Okay.
That was 10.
Okay. All right. Rhonda, you wanted to read next? You can take, we'll go
Yeah.
back around. It's okay.
Yeah, all right, let me go back to that. No. Okay. All right.
Bob can read.
Yeah.
No, I'm working this machine.
Oh yeah, he's got enough. He's got the Zoom and the transcription. So he's doing two things at one time, which
Well, I don't know how he can
difficult
do
for a
that.
man, you know.
With
Can't
shaky
do it.
hand.
And his hands are shaking because of his Parkinson's. He can
All
hardly.
right. All right, guys, go ahead. My God. Go for it.
Sukadev Goswami said, once in Dwarka, a Brahmana's wife gave birth to a son, but the newborn infant died as soon as he touched the ground, O Bharat. The Brahma took the corpse and placed it at the door of King Ugrasena's court. Then, agitated and lamenting miserably, he spoke the following. The Brahmana said, this duplicitous, greedy enemy of Brahmanas, this unqualified ruler, addicted to sense pleasure, has caused my son's death by some discrepancies in the execution of his duties. Citizens serving such a wicked king, who take pleasure in violence and cannot control his senses, are doomed to suffer poverty and constant misery. The wise Brahmana suffered the same tragedy with his second and third child. Each time he left the body of his dead son at the king's door and sung the same song of lamentation. When the ninth child died, who was near, died, Arjuna, who was near Lord Keshava, happened to overhear the Brahmanas lamenting. Thus Arjuna addressed the Brahmana. What is the matter, my dear Brahmana? Isn't there some lowly member of the royal order here who can at least stand before your house with the bow in his hand. These Kshatriyas are behaving as if they were Brahmanas, idly engaged in fire sacrifices. The rulers of a kingdom in which Brahmanas lament over lost wealth, wives, and children are merely impostors playing the role of kings just to earn their livelihood. My lord, I will protect the progeny of you and your wife who are in such distress. And if I fail to keep this promise, I will enter fire to atone for my sin. Well, the Brahmanas said, neither Sankarshan, Vasudev, Praduna, the best of bowmen, nor the unqualified, unequaled warrior Anuruddha could save my sons. Then why do you naively attempt a feat that the Almighty Lord of the universe could not perform? We cannot take you seriously. Sri Arjuna said, I am neither Lord Sankarshan, O Brahmana, nor Lord Krishna, nor even Krishna's son. Rather, I am Arjuna, wielder of the Gandiva bow. Do not minimize my ability, which was good enough to satisfy Lord Shiva, O Brahmana. I will bring back your sons, dear master, and if I have to defeat death himself in battle. Thus convinced by Arjuna, O tormentor of enemies, the Brahmana went home satisfied by having heard Arjuna's declaration of his prowess. When the wife of the elevated Brahmana was again about to give birth, he went to Arjuna in great anxiety and begged him, please, please protect my child from death. After touching pure water, offering obeisances to Lord Maheshvara, and recollecting the mantras for his celestial weapons, Arjuna strung his bow Gandiva. I think that's more than my 10. If someone wants to take over again.
Well, I can start again, or if Bob wants to read this next 10. Do we have others here? I can't see the whole screen, so I don't know. If we don't, I'll just take it up from there. Okay, so it says Arjuna fenced in the house where the birth was taking place by shooting arrows attached to various missiles. Thus, the son of Pritha constructed a protective cage of arrows covering the house upwards, downwards, and sideways. The Brahmana's wife then gave birth, but after the newborn infant had been crying for a short time, he suddenly vanished into the sky in his self-same body. The Brahmanas then derided Arjuna in front of Lord Krishna. Just see how foolish I was to put my faith in this bragging of a eunuch. When neither Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Rama, nor Keshava can save a person, who else could possibly protect him? To hell with that liar Arjuna. To hell with that braggart's bow. He is so foolish that he has deluded himself into thinking that he can bring back a person whose destiny has taken away. While the wise Brahmin continued to heap insults upon him, Arjuna employed a mystic incantation to go at once to Shamani, the city of heaven, where Lord Yamaraj resides. Not seeing the Brahman's child there, Arjuna went to the cities of Indra, Agni, Nriti, Soma, Vayu, and Varuna. With weapons at the ready, he searched through all the domains of the universe, from the bottom of the subterranean region to the roof of heaven. Finally, not having found the Brahmana's son anywhere, Arjuna decided to enter the sacred fire, having failed to keep his promise. But just as he was about to do so, Lord Krishna stopped him and spoke the following words. Lord Krishna said, I will show you the Brahmana's son, so please don't despise yourself like this. These same men who now criticize us will soon establish our spotless fame. Having thus advised Arjuna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead had Arjuna join him on his divine chariot, and together they set off towards the west. The Lord's chariot passed over 7 islands of the middle universe, each with its own oceans and 7 principal mountains. Then it crossed the Loka boundary and entered the vast regions of total darkness. In that darkness, the chariot's horses, Saibya, Sugriva, Meghapushpa, and Balahaka, lost their way. Seeing them in this condition, O best of the Bharatas, Lord Krishna, the supreme master of all masters of yoga, sent his Sudarshan disc before the chariot. The disc shone like thousands of suns. The Lord's Sudarshan disc penetrated the darkness with its blazing effulgence. Racing forward with the speed of the mind, it cut through the fearsome, dense oblivion, expanded from primeval matter as an arrow shot from Lord Rama's bow cuts through his enemy's army. Ha ha! That's wonderful. Okay, somebody else want to read a few? Jump back in, guys.
Following the Sudarshan disc, the chariot went beyond the darkness and reached the endless spiritual light of all the pervasive Brahmayota. As Arjuna beheld this glaring effulgence, his eyes hurt, and so he shut them. From that region, they entered a body of water, resplendent with huge waves being churned by a mighty wind. Within that ocean, Arjuna saw an amazing palace more radiant than anything he had ever seen before. Its beauty was enhanced by thousands of ornamental pillars bedecked with brilliant gems. In that palace was a huge, awe-inspiring serpent, Ananta Sesa. He shone brilliantly with the radiance emanating from the gems of his 1,000 hoods and reflecting from twice as many fearsome eyes. He resembled white Mount Kalasa, and his necks and tongues were dark blue. Arjuna then saw the omnipresent and omnipotent Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahavishnu, sitting at the ease of the serpent bed. His bluest expansion was the color of the dense rain cloud. He wore a beautiful yellow garment. His face looked charming. His eyes broad were most attractive, and he had 8 long handsome arms. His profuse locks of hair were bathed on all sides in the brilliance reflected from the clusters of precious jewels decorating his crown and earrings. He wore the Kasuba gem, the mark of Srivasa, and the garland of forest flowers. So serving that topmost of all lords were his personal attendants, headed by Sananda and Nanda, his chakra and other weapons in their personified forms. His consorts, potencies, Persiti, Sri Kirti, and Aja, and all his various mystic powers. Lord Krishna offered homage to himself in his boundless form, and Arjuna, astonished at the sight of Lord Mahavishnu, bowed down as well. Then, as the two of them stood before him with joined palms, the Almighty Mahavishnu, Supreme Master of all rulers of the universe, smiled and spoke to them in a voice full of solemn authority. Lord Mahavishnu said, I brought the Brahmanas' sons here because I want to see the two of you, my expansions who have descended to the earth to save the principles of religion. As soon as you finish killing the demons who burden the earth, quickly come back here to me. Although all your desires are completely fulfilled, O best of exalted personalities, for the benefit of the people in general, you should continue to exemplify religious behavior as the sages Nara and Naryan. Thus instructed by the Supreme Lord of the topmost planet, Krishna and Arjuna ascended by chanting Om, and then they bowed down to Almighty Lord Mahavishnu. Taking the Brahmanas sung with them, they returned with great delight to Dvarka by the same path along which they had come. There they presented the Brahmana with his sons, who were in the same infant bodies in which they had been lost. Having seen the domain of Lord Vishnu, Arjuna was totally amazed. He concluded that whatever extraordinary power a person exhibits can only be manifestation of Sri Krishna's mercy. Lord Krishna exhibited many other similar heroic pastimes in this world. He apparently enjoyed the pleasures of ordinary human life, and he performed great potent fire sacrifices. The Lord, having demonstrated his supremacy at suitable times, he showered down all desirable things upon the Brahmanas and his other subjects, just as Indra poured down his rain. Now that he had killed many wicked kings and engaged devotees, such as Arjuna, in killing others, the Lord could easily assure the execution of religious principles through the agency of such pious rulers as Yudhisthira.
Yudhisthira. Yeah,
Yudhisthira, okay.
yeah, this is a wonderful chapter, guys. Thank you so much for your reading. That was there's a lot in this chapter, so we're not going to read the next chapter. Next chapter, let's see how many verses we have in the next chapter. It's the actual last chapter, chapter 90. And in chapter 90, it's actually not too long. It's about 50, not about 50. So I think we should save it. What do you think, Raga? I mean, that's the last chapter will be finished if we read it tonight. It's
Well,
7:23.
there's a lot to talk about in this one, and what I'm thinking is we could always do chapter 90 and whatever you want to do in the 11th canto, because we're still going on to 11 and 12, but
Yep.
drawing out certain
Yeah.
ones, aren't we?
Yeah, we could add something to it if we want
So
to
there.
after finishing this chapter. Yeah, this is a great chapter. I love this chapter because it's got some of the greatest lessons in the Srimad Bhagavatam in it. First of all, these it starts out where they're let me go back. Hold on one second. I'm I'm I've gone way ahead of myself, guys. I got to wind myself back in. Okay. So here is, hold on one second. Hold on. Hold on. All right, back to where I was. Okay. So there was a discussion amongst these group of sages, right? And they were wondering who are out of the three chief lords, who is the greatest, who is the supreme, right? They want to know. So they deputed Brigu, who's Brahma's son, Brigu Muni, who is the spiritual master of all these people, to investigate the matter. Excuse me. So the Brigu is pretty smart, right? So what he wanted to do was to test the tolerance of these three lords. So he had his own little idea about how to go about that. And the first thing he does is he goes to the court of his father. And he didn't even offer his father any respect. This would be the worst thing he could do, really, to his father. So he did not offer him any respect. And so what happened? It says Brahma, he had to suppress his anger. He became very, very angry with his son. And so he did control it by using yogic powers of restraint for his mind. Because Brahma's in the mode of passion. So he felt this anger rising within him. And through the yogic process, he brought back his senses. Now, this is recommended in Bhagavad Gita by Sri Krishna when he says, wherever the mind wanders due to its restless nature, one should bring it back under the control of self. And he says one should actually retract his senses from the sense objects, just like a tortoise can retract its limbs within the shell. So we have to become expert at that. Otherwise, the senses are like wild animals and they'll drag you over the abyss. You've seen the picture in the Bhagavad Gita, which is quite famous, which shows the chariot with the driver and the soul, and his face is like, oh no, because the senses, the ear, the tongue, the nose, the mouth, the genital, like that, is dragging him into the abyss of the material world for the sake of repeated birth and death and suffering of old age and disease. So the idea would be Brahma showed the correct yogic power, but he still had the emotion. Okay? So this is important to note. Now, then, so he goes on to Shiva, um, which Shiva was his older brother, right? Because Shiva's also born from Brahma. And he says, uh, and he rose from his seat to embrace him, but Brigu rejected the embrace. Have you ever gone to somebody who held out your hand, to shake their hand, and they've just dissed you right there? It's like, oh God, what an embarrassment. Try to imagine that on the level of the highest demigods. I can't even imagine. But we've all had this experience where you try to, extend some good grace to somebody that completely offends you and neglects you. Well, this is what happened. So So Brigu had rejected his embrace and called Shiva a deviant heretic. Try to imagine what an insult this would have been for Shiva. Shiva's not very tolerant about these kind of things. So what did Shiva do? He was actually grabbed his trident. He was going to kill Brigu, his own brother. He was going to kill him. But Goddess Parvati, so kind, she jumps in the way and begs him not to do it. And she interceded. And of course, she pacified her husband with nice words. And this is a wonderful thing the women can do. They can also, there's one statement in the Bible that says, hell hath no wrath like the scorn of a woman. So women have this extreme ability to go either way. So here, Parvati, she actually pacified her husband and saved Brigu's life. So Brigu takes off and he goes to Vaikuntha and he's going to test out Lord Narayan. He wants to find out what Narayan's program is. And so he goes up to the Lord, just walks right up to the Lord. The Lord was lying with his head on the lap of the goddess of fortune. And what did he do? What did Brigu do to the Lord? What did he do to Narayan? What?
Kicked him
In the what?
in the chest, wasn't it?
Yes, that's correct. He kicked him in his chest. Now try to imagine. He kicked God in the chest. And so God's laying there with his head on the lap of the goddess of fortune, and Brigu walks up and kicks him in the chest. Come on, guys. That's pretty intense, don't you think? So what happened? So the Lord, instead of becoming angry, he could have become angry, right? Right? But what did he do? Both the Lord and his consort, they stood up and they offered respects to Brigu. And they said, welcome. And they said, please sit down and rest a while. Kindly forgive us, dear master, for not noticing your arrival. Now, how many of you would do that? You're laying on the bed with your wife, right? You got your head in her lap. You're obviously relaxed. And somebody walks up and kicks you in the chest. What would you do? So you can see what modes are affecting you at this particular point in time when you think about that. But the Lord didn't do that. So instead, he said, welcome. He says, please forgive us, master. He kicked him in the chest, and the Lord's asking him to forgive him. He says, forgive us, we didn't notice your arrival. Please take my seat, take my elevated chair, and allow us to worship you and take the water of your feet upon our heads to purify our family. And he also said that now he's sure that the goddess of fortune will be attracted to rest her head on his chest because Brigu's foot had removed him all sins by that touch. All of his sins. Now, as if Krishna's got sins, as if Narayan has sins, but he's setting the example for everybody. And so he says, now surely she'll be attracted to place her head on my chest since your foot was there. In other words, his foot is superior. It's supreme to that. So you can see, so what happens next, right? So the Brigu goes back to the assembly and he explains to these sadhus there that he has concluded, final conclusion, who is the Supreme Lord? Was it Brahma? No. Was it Shiva? No. It was Vishnu. It was Narayan. And why? Because he showed supreme tolerance, supreme respect, supreme mercy, supreme everything. This is the action that we should be taking. If you read in the Bhagavad Gita, in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, it explains that one sees with equal vision the dog or the dog eater, gold or stool or whatever it might be. He doesn't care for the things in the material world. To him, they all have equal value. One is not better than the other because he's not using it for his sense gratification, right? I mean, if you're using something for your sense gratification, you know you're going to you're going to be favorable to something. You'll reject certain things and accept other things. But the very beginning of yoga starts with yama niyama. Yama niyama means instead of accepting things for the value of the pleasure you derive from your senses, you should accept things that are positive and favorable for your devotional service, whether they're pleasurable or not. See what I'm saying? And you should accept whatever comes to you as your lot in life, your karma. And because you've surrendered yourself to the Supreme Lord in yoga, because now you're trying to follow the will of the Lord and the spiritual master through the spiritual master, you no longer have karma. You're not marked for death. You're not, you don't have the mark of the beast, so to speak. You're not marked for continued death. You are marked for liberation, to go back home, because your karma is gone. You have no karma. The work that you're doing for Vishnu burns up karma and turns it into ash. There's nothing there left for you to suffer and enjoy. This is the secret of karma yoga. Secret of karma yoga is given in the, third chapter? Bhagavad Gita describes that work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Yadgartat karmanon yatra, loko yam, karma bandhana. In other words, you're going to be bound up by your karma unless you do work. Yagyartad, you got to yagya, you got to do sacrifice for the Lord. Once you do sacrifice for the Lord, there's no karma. There's only merit. And that's spiritual, and that can never be taken from you. It can be no loss. There can be no diminution for that. And a little advancement on this path can protect one from the greatest of all types of dangers, which is to fall back into the material pool, in the whirlpool of Maya, the suffering that we all have to go through, right? So, hang on. Okay, so very good story. So he says, because they exhibited responses in the modes of ignorance and in passion, they could not possibly be the Supreme Lord. So Vishnu, Narayan, exhibited the appropriate behavior, and Brigu took the message back, and everyone, since time immemorial now, has accepted Vishnu as the supreme person in charge of the maintenance of the universe, and of course, ultimately its creation, because he's expanding himself into Brahma and Shiva and so forth. So it says, one who drinks this nectar through the ear holes can forget the fatigue of life. There's no issue, because life's final success comes when you enter into the mode of goodness. So sadhana bhakti is designed to bring you to the mode of goodness. And from the mode of, that's called, that's what? Sattva gun. So now you're in the mode of goodness, but what is above the mode of goodness? Suddha sattva. That means beyond goodness to transcendence. Transcendence means not of the material world. So, very, very wonderful story. And I think everybody can relish this story together. How wonderful that is that we've determined who is the Supreme Personality by doing that. And by the way, in case you had any doubt, all you really have to do is consult the Bhagavad Gita in the 9th chapter in the 10th verse. And Krishna is very clear. He says, Madyak yakshena prakriti suyate sachara hey tuna nena konteya jagad viparivartate. And that means the material world is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and it's producing all moving and non-moving or unmoving beings. By its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. Chandra has been writing this wonderful paradoxes of the Lord, and he's written like, I don't know, about 100 of them. It's very wonderful. He read them to me earlier today because the Lord's in the material world, but he's not in it. You see what I'm saying? I mean, he is involved in every single thing, but he's separated from it, right? So this is all paradoxical. How can the Lord have these aspects? Is because he's unlimited. His power is unlimited. So, of course, fools deride the Lord when he descends in his human form, and they don't accept his transcendental nature, and they don't accept his supreme dominion. So therefore, they're called mudha. Mudha. Avajananti mam mudha. Manusham tanam mashritam. Parambavam majananto. Mama bhutva maheshvara. Maheshvara. That is the Supreme Lord. They don't accept his supreme dominion. Instead, they deride him with all types of atheistic comments and criticism for the Lord. So the devotees do the opposite. Okay? Devotees do the opposite. What do? Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantas chedridhabrata. Mamasyantas chamam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. That's the difference. The fools deride the Lord. They don't accept his dominion over all the be, whereas the devotees are constantly chanting his glories. So anyone who worships the Lord with devotion, meditating on the Lord's transcendental form, and to them, God will carry what you lack and preserve what you have. Bhagavad Gita is very clear about this. So you should worship the Lord and meditate on the Lord with devotion. How can you do it? Offer a leaf. Is there a leaf somewhere around? Get a leaf, Krishna. I mean, how hard is that? It's not hard. Offer a little water. You can do a little water, a leaf. You don't have to have much, a flower maybe, but you have to offer it with love and devotion. And you should offer it through the spiritual master, and then the Lord will accept. So there shouldn't be any issue with all of that. So now when we go on, there's another story here that starts on text 21. And it finishes out the chapter, basically. And it's the story of the Brahmanas' wife who had given birth to sons who immediately died. There were 9 children that died. So the Brahmana took the dead son to the court of King Ugrasena, right? And he berated the king. And he called the king duplicitous. He called the king greedy. He called the king an enemy of the Brahmins. Really? And he said that this king, because of these qualities, has caused his son's death by failing to execute his duties properly. So the king is not doing his job. My kids are dying. Right? Now, in these days, the king was considered to be a representative of God. and that his kingdom should be perfectly happy. It's just like if you have a good mother, the child is generally very happy. She knows how to maintain the child, take care of the child, give the child's needs. You're not going to hear that child crying and going crazy for the most part, because I mean, unless he's hurt or unless he's gotten hurt or sick or something. The point is that the child is being maintained properly. So the king, his job is to do the same thing, is to keep the society at large protected, primarily protected. So this is why Arjuna said, is there no kshatriyas with a bow in hand around here anywhere? Right? Think about it. He said, there's no one here to protect you. How is it possible that your children are dying? I'll take care of it. And if I can't do it, I'll please Shiva with my stuff. I can definitely do this. I'll protect. And if I can't do it, I'll enter the sacrificial fire. I myself will kill myself if I can't save your children. This is Arjuna's thought. Okay? Because guess what? The Brahmana had berated the king. Berated him. And he caused him a greedy enemy of the Brahmins. Wow. Because he failed to execute his duties. So every time the child was to come, it would die, and the Brahmana would take it to the doorstep of the king and leave it there. And he left it at the royal court, and he would continue to berate the king. So now Arjuna was there, and he happened to hear this complaint. And he told him, he said, I'll protect your progeny, don't worry. So sometime later on, the Brahmin's wife was going to give birth for the 10th time, I guess it was. And so Arjuna, when he heard about it, he went to the maternity house where she was, and he enveloped it in this cage of arrows, impenetrable cage protected by these arrows filled with mantras. No one could enter. I mean, it was impenetrable. And so, but guess what happens? Arjuna's efforts were to no avail. Because when the child was born and began to cry, it actually disappeared directly in the sky in the self-same body. In the self-same body. Now, that's referred to in the Srimad Bhagavatam a few times when people go back home or back to Godhead or whatever. They go and sometimes in the self-same body, it says, because their body is all spiritual, because their work has been spiritual. In other words, if you do all spiritual things, you become all spiritual. Your body is even a spiritual body. You no longer have a material body. You strictly have a spiritual body. So the idea, this somehow or another, this child disappeared in the self-same body into the sky. So when Arjuna saw this, he set off for the abode of Yamaraj to go get the baby. He's going. He don't even care. He's going down to find the baby. Baby's not there. Dead baby's not there. So he searched through the 14 worlds and he couldn't find any trace of the infant. No trace. So having failed to protect the Brahmin's son, Arjuna was now intent upon committing suicide. Isn't that wild? He was willing to give up his own body by entering the sacred fire. But this is how Krishna does business, y'all. Check it out. Just before he entered, in other words, he was taken down to the last moment, just like when they threw Prahlad off the mountain and he was about to be dashed on the rocks at the last second, just before he hit, Krishna caught him. Krishna's pretty dramatic, don't you think? I mean, he's got his timing just perfect to wake you up, to maximize the joy or whatever the message is Krishna's doing there, okay? So Krishna shows up and he goes, no, don't kill yourself. Don't do that. I'll show you the Brahman's sons. We'll take off together. So please don't despise yourself like this. One time there was a devotee, I don't know the exact story, but I'll paraphrase. There was a devotee who was lamenting about, his feeling guilty about his, maybe potential lack of devotion or whatever, malfeasance he may have been involved in. And Prabhupada said, you don't lament over these things. Start again in your process of devotional service. Pick yourself back up, dust yourself off, and get back to work. That's the thing. We don't lay around wallowing in depression. What use is that, by the way? Just to wallow. It's like vomiting and then just rolling in it, or passing stool and then just wallowing around in it. Is that pleasant? I don't think so. So the idea is, yes, you may have made a mistake. Yes, you may have deviated. Yes, you may have not been as good as you wanted to be, but get over it and get back to service to the Lord, because there's no alternative. The only alternative is get back to the service of the Lord. That's the alternative. There is no other alternative. What? Rot in the material world? That's the alternative? Wallow in stool and urine? Is that it? No. So when you go to hell in the material world, if you look in the fifth canto, you'll find out it's filled with all types of disgusting things. And in that situation, you literally are wallowing in these things in the material world. And the reason you are is because Krishna is trying to wake you up. He's going like, hey, this is what this place is all about. And you need to get over it. You need to come back home. He wants you to come home. We've deviated. We've come to the material world. We are now demons. And we're trying our best to become devotees by accepting spiritual master and following the principles as he set them forth according to the Vedic axioms. So that's the difference. That's the difference. And that's how you stop karma. That's how you stop death. That's how you stop suffering. That's how you go back home. That's how you're liberated. And you need to do that in the association of the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, because they'll show you how. So Arjuna was going to commit suicide. Krishna stopped him at the very last second, as usual. And he says, I'll show you. Now they go on this big trip. So they cross the universal islands. There's 7 oceans, the 7 mountain range, Loka mountain range. They're crossing all that. They're enter to the region of complete darkness. So the horses couldn't even find their way. They were lost. So what did Krishna do? What do you do? Anybody know? He sent his Sudarshan out ahead. Yes, sir. Lit up the whole way in the path. And so they could pierce through the gloom and everything and see this. And they came to the water of the causal ocean at that point, and they found the city of Lord Mahavishnu. There they did see the 1,000-headed serpent, Anantashesha. And upon the serpent bed lay the Lord himself, Mahavishnu. So the Lord greeted Sri Krishna and Arjuna, and he said, I actually brought the Brahmanas' sons here. I brought them here simply because I wanted to see the two of you. He wanted to have an audience with Krishna and Arjuna. This is an important story, because this is where Krishna and Arjuna are deputed as Narayan Rishi. And their job is now to go back in that incarnation, or in that status, and continue to spread this perfect information of Vedic knowledge of Bhagavad Dharma. And he actually said, I'm very satisfied with you being able to do that, because now you've got Yudhisthira, great kings like Yudhisthira, who carry forth this dharmic program. So he wants them to exemplify religious behavior as Narayan Rishi. Okay, so he wants them to continue to benefit the people. So when they saw this, by the way, this magnificent palace, I forgot which the description. I'll go to it in a minute. Let me finish paraphrasing this, and then we'll read that description, because it's really amazing. But it says they took the infants back to their father, took them back, and they were all little babies, little just like they were when they were taken in their self same body. In other words, they weren't killed and then it became spirit soul like that. They were in self same body with Mahavishnu. And it says, having directly experienced the greatness of Krishna, Arjuna was amazed. And he concluded that only by the Lord's mercy can a living being exhibit any opulence or power. So, pretty sweet stuff, guys. So let me read that. I want to read those verses to you. Let's see which one, 33. Oh. Here we go. See, 33. There it is. No, that's not it. Oh, I know where it is. It's 54. It's way on down the line. Sorry about that. I want to read this to you because this is so amazing. Here we go. Here it is. 54 through 56 is a description of the omnipotent Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahavishnu. You should hear this. It says, he lay sitting at ease upon a serpent bed. His bluish complexion was the color of a dense rain cloud. He wore a beautiful yellow garment. His face looked charming. His broad eyes were attractive, most attractive, and he had 8 long, attractive, handsome arms. 8. Vishnu Dutas have 4, and Krishna's incarnation 2. So, and then there's some with 6, some with 13. I mean, come on now. They're all different kind of humanoid species, 400,000 different species, humanoid. So we can see that they come in all different shapes, sizes, colors, and compositions of body. Like some bodies are made of fire, some are made of different elements. Ours is made of water. So it says, his profuse locks of hair were bathed on all sides in his brilliance reflected from the clusters of precious jewels decorating his crown and his earrings. Can you see this in your heart and your mind, guys? Come on. He wore the Kaustuba jewel, which is a beautiful jewel. There's a whole story read about. And he has the mark of Srivats and a garland of forest flowers. So, serving the topmost of all lords were his personal attendants, headed by Sunanda and Nanda, his chakra and other weapons in their personified forms. In their personified forms. So the Vedas is knowledge, right? The Veda means knowledge. But did you know we just read about the personified Vedas? And the personified Vedas are those principles, that knowledge in person, in a person. And before the creation of the manifest universe, before Brahma, before Shiva, before any of the Mahatattva, the personified Vedas come out of the breathing and the mind of Mahavishnu just to glorify the Lord and wake him up. They're singing these prayers about his glories just to wake him up. He's sleeping. And so now he's going to dream this universe for your benefit. It's actually for your redemption. It's actually for your reclamation. It's actually to bring you back home and save you from further repeated birth, death, old age, disease, and the misery of threefold miseries caused by the living entities, caused by nature itself, and caused by one's own actions. So this is designed to bring you out of here. And everything that happens to the devotee is designed to wake that devotee up so that that devotee can rightfully attain his position again as a pure servant of the Lord. And once again, in yoga, connect to the Lord in a state of prema, bhakti, pure, unalloyed, loving, devotional service to the Lord. And so that's the key to this whole thing. So I thought that was a very good description of Mahavishnu, because we always, how many descriptions have we had now of all the incarnations that we've read about in these chapters that we've been through? So this is one final description of Mahavishnu, and I thought it was very, very beautiful. So at the end of this chapter, there was one, it says here. Okay. So yeah, so basically that's what I wanted to share with you guys tonight. Beautiful chapter. I think it's 7:56. So we might actually finish 1 or 2 minutes early tonight, unless you guys have a lot of questions. We never ever finish early. Never. I mean, have you ever seen us ever, since we started this program, ever finish within an hour? Be honest. Never seen it. So this, who knows? We might break the clock tonight. Look at that. Woo. So that's pretty good. So, well, I will leave you with this. If you don't, do you have any questions or anything? But I want you to hear this one little verse that you will understand the purpose of your life. People walking around on the street, they have no idea who they are. They have no idea what the heck's going on here. They don't know what this even is. They're like roach bugs. They're just looking for food, sex, whatever it is. That's what they're looking for. They're not looking for liberation. Certainly they're not looking for God. They're trying to run away from God. In the last chapter, it said that usually, Krishna says, they avoid me and they go to the demigods because they're going to look for some material gain that they can get in relatively short period of time. But when they come to me, I'm the one who takes away everything from them. I'm the one that brings them down to their knees so that we can have our relationship reestablished and you can come back home. As long as you think there's a glimmer of hope in the material world for you to enjoy, you ain't leaving. You're going to stick around here. You think this is better. You think a rotting body, a stool bag, is better than a Satchidananda Vigraha. That's because we identify with this mortal coil. And we realize that we try to extract from it all types of fluids and excrements and stuff like that, thinking that, oh, this will finally please me. Come on, guys. It's just an illusion. It's all a big illusion. So we have to understand the illusion and we have to identify with the true self, which is the actual immortal soul within inside your body. So these stories are very illuminating, and they show the prowess of the Supreme Personality. And here they show how Narayan Rishi came about by being called before Mahavishnu. And this is after they left the eggshell of this material universe. They're on the outside of that, apparently. So I thought that was really amazing, talking about these stories. Even the scientists who sent these Sputniks out, Prabhupada called them Sputniks, they sent out these, what do they call? Satellites. They go out. One of them's been going for 40, 50 years. It just keeps going, But it talks about an area of extreme heat and then dense darkness after. So who knows if they got that far? They went, I've forgotten how many billions of light years they went away, or millions of light years they went away from Earth to find that. Now, the other day I saw a picture from the rover on Mars, because it has no atmosphere. And you ought to see this. I mean, you just probably Google it, you could probably find it. It's like milk. The sky looks like milk. I mean, it's so full of clusters of stars, billions of stars and planets, and so forth and so on. It just looks full. There's very few black spaces you could even see. And they took a picture of a black space that they couldn't see any light with, and they did it with this new massive telescope, and they found out that it contains like billions and trillions of universes and or galaxies and planets and so forth and so on. There's really no void. It's all out there, guys. And this whole thing is all meant for the pleasure of the Lord. And he's got trillions, unlimited numbers of living entities that he's expanded into, all for the sake of pleasure. And he knows every one of them and is enjoying a rasa with each one of them. So develop your rasa with the Lord, and the way to do it is yat karosi yadashnasi, yat juhosi devasiya, yat tapashyasi konteya, tat kurushva mad arpanam. And that means that everything that you do, every single thing you do, all that you ever eat, ever, and you know you got to do that a lot during the day, all that you give away in charity, all the austerities and the sadhana and the chanting and everything that you may be performing must be done as an offering unto the Lord. That's it. That's what you're here for. If you do that, then death, you will step on the head of death and enter into the kingdom of God. Okay? Who wants to do that? Raise your hand if you want to. Marie did. She did. Bob, you don't care. You're so transcendental. Bob said, I don't care where I'm at. I'll just stick around here. I want to go home. Don't you, Marie? Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Yes, baby. You better know it. We do not want to stick around here for any more of this kind of, it's really torture. I mean, everything is torture here. It's either too hot, too cold, too hungry, not enough food, wrong kind of food, indigest. Something is not working correctly at every moment.
A lot of pain.
A lot of pain, a lot of pain. That's why intoxication is so prevalent, because they want to dull the pain any possible way they can. And they distract their minds from the pains of the material world by engaging in all of these illicit behaviors. But all they do is they bind themselves worse by doing it. They're not becoming liberated, not becoming satisfied. They're not becoming, healthier by doing those things. They're actually bringing death closer and closer. All right, guys.
Hare
So, yeah, go ahead. You got
Hare
something?
Krishna.
Okay, how do you
This
follow?
is here.
Hey, there you are. Haribo.
Haribo. Third world country is a tough, tough place. But do you think it's easy for this soul to come out of this body and come out with freedom, and you can claim the highest position that you don't have to come back into this world? If anybody can guarantee that with me, I will go. But once it's not guaranteed, I'm not going.
Okay. Well, Krishna guarantees it in Bhagavad Gita. You know,
Yeah, but
no, he guarantees what you're asking. Yes, he can guarantee that you can. It says right here, listen to this. So if you want to be guaranteed to go back home, there's a verse, it's an 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Study it. Study the purport. It's 1855. Okay, chapter 18, verse 55. It's almost the very end of the Bhagavad Gita. It's the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita. And so what it says, the verse is very important for you to hear. It says, Bhaktya mam abhijananti yavanyas chasmi tadvadaha tato mang tatvato gyadva visate tadanantaram. And it says that one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead only as he is, only by devotional service. Only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of the Supreme Lord by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So we just said another verse earlier. All that you eat, all that you offer, all that you do, everything you give, anything you do, anything you think should be connected to the Supreme Person. Then you become in full consciousness of the Lord. And in that state of full consciousness, one can enter into the kingdom of God, even in this life. You're already in the kingdom of God. You're just in a separated kingdom of God. Now, when you take up devotional service, you're no longer part of this material world. Your work is being done for Vishnu. It has no karmic reaction. And Krishna goes on to say, Sarvadharma Parityajam, Mamikam Saranambrajam, Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo, Mokshaishyami Masichaha. Abandon all these speculative ideas about how I can get back home, what I can do. You can't do anything. You need Guru Kripa. You need the Lord's mercy. Only thing you have to do is connect all the dots back to Krishna. That's all you got to do. And when you're in that consciousness of the Lord, that's called Krishna consciousness. So if you're Krishna conscious, you will enter into the kingdom of God. And the Lord says, just surrender to me. That's all you really got to do. You don't have to take up all these different speculative paths created by men trying to find a shortcut out of this material universe. There's no shortcut. No shortcut. All you got to do is surrender to Krishna. And when you do, you will be freed from all sinful reactions. Krishna says, do not fear. I'm telling you, do not fear. This is your guarantee. You just asked for a guarantee, you just got one. I toast to you and to your liberation. Hare Krishna. Any other question? Hare Krishna. I hope that settled the matter. I don't hear anything else. So maybe you lost your signal. I don't know. But we love you, and we love you, and we love you, and you, and you, and you, and Winley, and Heb. We love you guys. And
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. There you go.
I get caught up just now because of the internet, but to get the higher taste, to drop the lower taste, something so easy to do.
Yeah, it should be. It's the hardest and the easiest thing there is, honestly. I know that sounds crazy, but that's basically what it is.
I know.
It's the hardest thing, but the easiest.
Devotional. I know.
All at the same time. All at the same time. All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you so much for being here tonight. We did fill up our time slot. We're about 8 minutes after. We did not break our record. We always go over. So we didn't change anything tonight, but we'll be here. Now next week, I'll let you know. I'll have Ranga sent out whatever it is, but I may be in Florida next week, but I still could probably do it. As long as I have an internet signal, we'll do this last chapter. Because once we get this last chapter done, we're finished with the 10th canto, which is pretty exciting that we've actually completed that. 90 chapters that we've done. I mean, that's almost like doing the whole Bhagavatam again. Because I bet we haven't done 90 chapters in all of the other avatars. But anyway, it is what it is. Yeah, Florida in this heat. Yeah, I got to go down there, take some harmoniums and some drums down there. I got to go visit with some of my god brothers down there. And well, I'm going to do it while it's a little hot because we can't do a lot out at Duck River while it's so hot, a lot of Vrindavan forest. However, be there this weekend on a canoe and you will be cool as a cucumber. All right. Set my obeisances, everybody. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Repeat after me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna.
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare,
Hare Hare.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama,
Hare
Rama
Rama.
Rama.
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama.
Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Guys, be blessed. And I can't wait to see you next week. If for any reason we have to postpone it, I'll let you know. But I'm going to try to make it happen. Okay? Hare Krishna, everybody. See you next time. Jai
Hare
Prabhupada.
Hare.
Hare Hare Bo.